All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to dive into something that's, well, it's absolutely essential, but let's be honest, it's often overlooked: security documentation. Now I know, it might not sound glamorous, but this is the absolute bedrock of a strong cyber defense.
So, let me ask you a question. How secure are you, really? It seems like a simple question, doesn't it? But the answer is surprisingly complex. And you might be surprised to hear it has less to do with the technology you have, the firewalls you've set up, or the antivirus software you're running.
See, your real security posture, the thing that actually keeps you safe, it isn't just in your firewall. It's not about what you block. The real muscle is in what you know, what you've accounted for, and, you guessed it, how you track it all.
And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to show you how that boring-sounding paper trail is actually the most powerful security tool you have. A tool you're probably not using to its full potential.
Okay, so where do we even start? Well, we've got to start with the single most important concept in this whole process. Get this right, and everything else just falls into place. We're talking about residual risk.
But before we can even talk about residual risk, we have to understand what we're up against from the get-go, and that's called inherent risk. Think about it this way. Imagine every single possible threat to your organization, every vulnerability, every hacker, every potential attack, before you've lifted a finger to stop any of it. It's kind of scary, right? Well, that is your inherent risk.
This iceberg analogy is perfect. Your inherent risk? That's the entire iceberg. The whole massive, dangerous thing, most of it hidden underwater. Now, you're never going to make the whole iceberg disappear, right? But by putting in security controls, you can shrink it way, way down until all that's left is the manageable tip sticking out of the water. And that little piece that's left over, that's your residual risk. It's the stuff you've identified, you've accepted, and you're now actively managing.
So why does this matter so much? Well, here's the kicker. Tracking this stuff isn't just a good idea. It's not a nice to have. It is absolutely fundamental. This is your proof that your security is actually working, it's your roadmap for getting better, and, oh yeah, it's required by literally every major security framework out there. NIST, ISO 27001, you name it.
Okay, so how do we actually wrangle all this risk? You might think you need a ton of complicated software, but you really don't. It boils down to two key documents. These are the heart and soul of your security paper trail.
First up, we've got the Plan of Action and Milestones. You'll hear it called a POAM. Just think of it as your ultimate security to-do list. It's not a static report, it's a living, breathing document that tracks every weakness and lays out a rock-solid plan to get it fixed.
And look at how this is broken down. This isn't just some vague list of problems. No way. It's a structured action plan. You've got who's responsible, you've got a deadline, and you've got the current status. This is all about creating accountability and turning those fuzzy security worries into concrete, measurable tasks.
All right, tool number 2. This is your risk register. Now, if the POAM is your to-do list, then the risk register is your master threat map. It's the central command center, the one place where every single identified risk to your organization lives. This document is what gives you that critical 30,000-foot view. You can see what the risk is, how much damage it could do, how likely it is to happen, and what you're already doing about it. This is your what and why. And this information, it feeds directly into your POAM, which is the how you're going to fix it. See how they work together?
Okay, theory is one thing, but what does this look like in the real world, with real threats and real budgets? Let's take a look at a quick case study. We'll call them Thrive Financial, a bank that put these exact tools into practice. So Thrive was up against what I'd call a perfect storm, and it's probably going to sound pretty familiar to a lot of you. They had this complex mess of modern cyber threats, ransomware, phishing, you name it. They had a mountain of government regulations to comply with, and of course, they had to do it all on a really tight budget.
So what was their silver bullet? Well, it wasn't some magical new piece of tech. Their solution was a process, and it was all driven by their documentation. First, they used their risk register to do a deep dive, figure out their biggest problems, and align their plan with industry standards. Then, they fired up their POAM to actually go and mitigate those risks and build a system for continuous monitoring. That's it. That's how they turned paperwork into actual protection.
Now here's something you've got to remember. This whole system is only as strong as the documents you create. You know, garbage in, garbage out. Weak documentation equals a weak defense. Simple as that. So let's wrap up by looking at some clear do's and some very common and very dangerous don'ts. The name of the game here is clarity and consistency.
You want to create a document that anyone, from a junior engineer to a C-level executive, can pick up, understand, and act on. For instance, putting "servers seem slow sometimes" in your risk register, that's completely useless. But what about this? Server X shows 95% CPU usage during business hours, increasing breach risk due to unpatched vulnerability CVE 2023-1234. Now that's a verifiable objective fact that someone can actually go and do something about.
Because at the end of the day, good documentation isn't really about the technical nitty-gritty. It's a communication tool. It's about leadership. When you document risk clearly, you're building a shared reality. You're getting everyone at every single level of the organization on the same page and rowing in the same direction. That's the mission.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. What's that one risk hiding in plain sight at your organization? You know the one I'm talking about. It's the one everyone kind of knows is there, but nobody's ever bothered to write it down. Because finding that risk, that's your first step.